one of the best sisters a person could ever have.
She was.
And you would agree with that,
I
wouldn't you?
agree.
And she, as I said the last time, rode the train back and forth to work on weekends at the, old Booth Hospital as a nurse's aide. And
Let's talk a little bit about
Martin Road
Martin Road and the types of things that your dad did
on the
on
farm.
the farm.
Well, we raised her,
I was pretty impressed
Dad
by
had
it
a
all.
green thumb. And, frankly, when I got to the high school age, I survived elementary school, probably because I had some great teachers. And I had, Mr. Bailey, oh, what a wonderful teacher he was, 5th grade. I had Miss Cooper and.
Back to the farm, we'll talk
Back
about
to
your
the farm,
teachers
oh,
in a
okay,
minute.
we'll talk about.
I gotta reel you in,
Well,
come
the
on,
farm.
focus,
Dad,
focus.
Dad had the green thumb. We had our own cherry trees, our own apple trees, our own grape arbor. We raised our tobacco up on the ridge where I later built a house. We built a house. And, we had our own, honeybees, beehives. We had, truck garden where we, what mom didn't can, we put in the trunk of the car and went down to Covington and sold it door to door.
And that's where you got in trouble when you decided to go out and buy some whiskey.
Well, I definitely got in trouble. I decided that was a bad idea, never did it again either.
Okay, so here you guys are living out on this little farm, and you and Judy you're in Kenton Elementary?
Kenton Elementary School, Judy's about 4 years behind me,
Okay,
and, we lived there in that little cold room. I can remember watching the snakes crawl across
I
the,
love that story.
windowsill, inside the house too, because they was looking for a place to be warm. And you might find one at the end of the bed with you. And, but those were some tough days, no doubt about that. Little oil lamps.
Yeah, that.
Later, we
and
got some electricity in the place, and then
I wonder-
later, we got a little heater in the place, and we got an inside facilities, but
when
not
Gerald
until Cheryl came back.
He helped with that.
He came back as a first-class sergeant, and it was an honorable discharge from the Army, and where he had been a ski instructor over at Hokkaido, Japan. I mentioned that on the last show. Come back and he bought a 1955 Dodge, and boy, we're us kids, Jimmy, Eddie, and I, and everybody else on the street.
You were something.
We
huh?
were something riding in that car, cause that was a V8 engine with a standard shift, and of course Gerald knew how to drive fast.
I bet he did, cause he did in his later years.
And he would take us places, him and 2 or 3 other guys there that we got to know that were older.
I wanna
And
talk about,
We had the fight musters across the street,
Okay.
we had the crosses and the Duns, and Benny Lee's wife, Mrs. Lee, still lives out there, I think, in a little cottage.
okay,
And then, we had the Duns, Jean Dunn, Jane Dunn, Judy Dunn, and then, Mrs. Martin. Mrs. Little Martin was bad, she was a little hard to get along with. She didn't want you turning around in her driveway, even if you were on her bicycle.
who was the lady in your neighborhood that baked the pies and set them on
Well, I was
the
Miss
edge of-
Hawkins
And you and Jim
and Eddie.
stole the pies?
Well, they said I took them, but they went
So,
on, got a
John,
little
put your hand
older.
on the Bible, who took those pies?
Probably me.
Okay.
But Miss Hawkins knew it.
What a
She'd bake them and
wonderful-
sit them there on the windowsill so they
Cool off.
cool off.
Mhm.
And I didn't take them all, I just take one.
Oh, that was kind of you. Who knows, maybe she
Then we'd
did,
thank her.
maybe she did that on purpose.
She might have, but anyway, we'd thank her.
I have a word, though.
Henry Hawkins was his
Word
name.
association,
Yeah,
restitution.
restitution,
Let's
oh my
talk
God.
about restitution.
Well, that's back when I got up in high school when I
Oh, was
learned
that
that
high
word.
school? I
That
thought
was
that
high
was
school.
grade school.
No, that was high
Well,
school.
let's go to high school for a
Well,
while.
Mr.
We can
Bailey,
always
you
back
got him, you got, oh geez, Mrs. Widener, Randall Widener's wife.
And you went to high school where?
I went to high school at Simon Kenton,
Okay.
the only school in the country, as far as I was concerned at that time, and thrilled to go there. Great teachers there. One of the things I learned was from Mrs. Oney Riley, who, by the way, I learned, Miss Oney Riley,
Mhm.
who I learned later in life from Mr. Gay Best.
We need to describe
My
her
agriculture,
first.
my algebra teacher. Oh, Miss Riley was wonderful. Miss Riley would always wear a little pin on her lapel, and if you guessed what country that pin was from, you got extra credit.
So
Of
did
course,
she
I was in-
travel? She was
she
a
traveled a
single
lot,
lady.
yes,
In those
single.
days, she would have been considered a spinster.
Yeah,
So
She
she
traveled a
traveled
lot.
on her summers.
lived out on Walton Nicholson Pike, And, she taught me something very important. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That was a poem that we got the chance to learn underneath of her. And I've never forgot that. And that's one of the reasons I have been so aggressive and successful in things that I start to do. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Don't give up. You learn by mistakes, right?
That is correct.
I mean, how do you think I wound up with you? If at first you don't succeed, try again.
It took him a lot of practice.
Took me a lot of practice. We'll go into that later.
Yeah, that's later.
Since this is my life history, you gotta hear the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There's a lot of ugly.
I wouldn't say that. There's nothing ugly about you. Wasn't anything ugly about anybody else either.
Miss Oni Riley.
Oni Riley.
Was a small little thing.
Yes.
Quiet and demure, but very effective in her teaching.
World
skills.
geography, taught me the love of the countries.
Mm-hmm.
The love of the countries. And when we went to Europe, it was Oni Riley who I was thinking about traveling and how wonderful this was to go to 8 countries in Europe and film it all to put on television. Europe by train. And we went to Austria.
We'll talk about
that later.
That'll be another show. I already can tell you that right now.
Well,
we're gonna be lucky to get through high school and college here.
So anyway,
So what did you discover about Miss Oni Riley after the fact? This quiet little demure teacher you found out.
I found out from
later
Mr.
in life.
My algebra teacher, who's still alive, by the way, and going strong. I hope he stays alive for a long time. I loved him dearly.
But you discovered.
And he said one thing about me, my math, I make 100s on all my tests.
You're very good at math.
And, he was very thrilled with me in algebra.
But what did he share with you?
He shared with me the great piece of history. He said, no one else knows this, but I know it, he said. Mrs. Oni Riley was packing heat.
This little spinster lady in the 1950s.
In the 7th grade.
Was walking around packing heat.
Packing heat. Had it in her
My
purse.
kind of girl.
Back in those days, you were probably allowed to do that,
I guess.
And even if you weren't, she was still doing it. He said so, and he would know.
Well, let's go back to grade school for a while. Is there anything significant about grade school that you would like to share?
Well, in the 6th grade, I missed about 8 weeks of school.
Well, I had a question, so that ties into this. I wanted to know, and I'm sure people would like to know because they know you sing all the time. When did you first discover that you liked to sing? And not only like to sing, but when did you first discover how much you loved the audience?
Well, that goes back to the beginning. Mom was a piano player at the church. Dad was a fiddle player. Dad played the fiddle well. He played practically every night at the house. Mom played the piano practically every night at the house. We had an old upright piano. She played piano for the church. And it was just a natural thing for all of us kids to sing.
But when did you, John Alton, love the audience attention?
Well, when I started singing at school, and the teachers would send me from room to room to sing.
Was this grade school or high school?
This was grade school. Started in grade school, and then.
You were sent from room to room to sing?
Sent from room to room to sing.
Probably was, because the teacher wouldn't
Probably
get out of her hair for a while.
Probably true, but I would sing. Honeycomb, that was one of the songs. And, of course, 16 Tons, Tennessee Ernie Ford song. Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. Mind that's weak and the back is strong. You load 16 tons, what did you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go out my soul to the company store. I was born one morning, it was drizzling rain. Fighting and trouble was my middle name. I was raised in a canebrake vine. Oh, mama line, there ain't no honky-tonk woman make me walk the line.
Except me.
Except her. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, and a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. Now, when I taught school, I loved to sing this part here. Sometimes when I substitute taught, I'd jump up on top of the desk and
I-
look them in the
I
eyeball.
wanna advise you to not do that right
I
now.
won't do it right now.
Thank you.
But I'd jump up on the top of the desk and I'd say, if you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't and a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You load 16 tons. What did you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. That was what I did in high school and grade school, both. Go
Very
around the
good.
room.
And the hospital.
And the hospital.
Would you like to talk about your little hospital trip?
8 weeks, I missed school in 6th grade. Had to go have a hydrocele repaired, surgery. And, I had something seriously wrong with me. Probably happened with Philip Casson. You know Philip Casson, the Casson boys across the street on the hill, Butch Casson, Philip Casson, Frankie Casson.
Would you like to
I
talk
think there
about
were
that little
16,
story?
there were 16 people in
There were a
that
lot
family.
of Cassons going around.
And a lot of Cassons, of course, Brenda Roy up there on the end, and David Roy, and of course Bill Roy down on Martin Road. All those kids out there, we hung out together. Carol Kerr, I saw Tom Kerr the other night, and he reminded me that I dated his cousin, Carol Kerr.
Oh, boy,
I
you
said,
just got
well, I don't know
around,
whether
didn't you?
dating was a good idea, but I had my guitar up there. You saw that picture of me and my guitar
When he
at her
has
house
the
one
guitar
time.
out,
I had the
look
guitar
out.
And I got that guitar in high school by Robert Roden. Well, he got that guitar
When
for
you
me,
see a
band
guitar,
director.
you better run.
Anyway, I was in the hospital with this dreaded thing wrong with me, and, it's too eerie to tell you about, but anyway, it had to
It's
do
a
with
little guy
hydrocele.
thing,
Little guy thing.
yeah.
But anyway, they decided down there, when I was in the hospital, I think 6 or 8 weeks.
That's a long time for a
That
child
was a
to be
long time for you to be
hospitalized.
gone from school and then down at the hospital. Dr. Pierce and Minor. And,
It was urological.
urological
thing.
stuff, yes. So I was up on the nurses down there put me up on the tabletops
In the cafeteria.
in the cafeteria.
So you became the entertainer
And I
at
became the
Booth
entertainer for all the
Hospital
nurses.
while you were.
Well, I was there, that was my job, go down and entertain everybody. I had some great doctors down there, Dr. Vernon
You
Lee.
would be the white
surgeon.
version of Sammy Davis Jr. on
Right.
the tabletop.
Well, that is true,
I can see that.
that is true, and I loved all my teachers, I have to say honestly, even though it seemed like to me a couple of them turned me upside down and dumped my head in the garbage
I
can.
could see that. If I could, I might do the
I
same.
loved them all. Mr. Caton was wonderful. I loved him, a great educator. And of course, when we got over into Simon Kenton, Reuben Hinsdale was the principal for the last year.
Okay, so did you go from Kenton Elementary to Simon
Simon
Kenton, or was
Kenton,
there any
seventh.
middle school?
No middle school. You went right
Okay.
to Simon Kenton, 7th grade.
Okay,
You were there with the big boys.
well, let's talk about Simon Kenton.
Simon Kenton, Mr. Hinsdale was the principal, and later then became the superintendent of schools.
Okay,
And Mr. Edmondson, George Edmondson, and his lovely wife Lois, they were brought in to be the superintendent, or the principal of Simon Kenton High School. And he was the principal the year I graduated, Mr. Edmondson was. And I think I was his first class. Boy, I think
well,
about
you were the
it.
first of everything, weren't you?
I think so. And,
Well, I recall,
Of
at
course, all
one
the
of your,
kids-
I recall at one of your, high school reunions that Mr. Emerson was still living and you had him as one of your guests.
yes,
And he stood up, do you remember what he said to your classmates and their guests that evening at that special dinner?
he
reunion
said that
dinner?
our class was one of the best classes, first class and one of the best classes he ever had.
That's right, and what did he say about you?
I was a challenge, but he was glad that I worked out as well as I did. He was quite proud of me, him and his wife
You
both
broke
were.
him in.
I broke him in, and I broke Mr. Massey in too.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Massey, the typing teacher, said, that I was the only student, what did he get up and say? The only student that, caused him havoc or something.
Pretty much.
We're getting close to the end of the time for
Like
this
I
show.
told you folks, it's going to be
Well,
a
it's-
few shows before we get it all covered about John Stevenson's life.
Well, I have to tell you
Because
all
we gotta
about
wrap it
Richard
up
Peebles
here.
and Larry Hensley And, all my Simon Kenton graduate friends,
You still
our
meet
class,
monthly
we
with
still meet
classmates
monthly.
for lunch, which I think is a pretty amazing thing.
yeah, 1961, we graduated, we still meet every month, a whole group of us
And
do.
what year did you graduate from Simon Kenton?
1961
Okay.
was the year I graduated.
And would you like to tell us real quickly what your sport of choice was? And that
I
you
love-
were very good.
Well, track, I was a track star.
Mhm.
In fact, the fastest in the school, 100-yard dash, 220 and 440, high jump, and, also, hurdles, high hurdles.
And b-ball.
And basketball, I love to play basketball, and, enjoyed my time as a basketball player there with Mr. Taylor as a coach, Mr. Reed as coach, and Mr. Osback as coach, Mr. Faulkner as coach. All of them good men.
The existing Simon Kenton High School, where it's located right now on Madison Pike or 17, was that the building that you all were in?
They've been added to, but they were the
It
original
was the original
building, yes.
building.
A
Okay.
lot, it's been remodeled considerably, and a lot of things, we didn't even have a football team when I went there.
Okay.
They didn't
Well,
get
we're
that
gonna
till
have
years
to
later.
wrap this up here, babe.
Okay,
So we'll try to clean it up a little bit about your years in Simon Kenton High School when we pick back up next time. And we hope that you will join us for the continuing saga of John Alton Stephenson's life.
that would be a prayer for sure. And then also, I would say, get out and vote, and get out and
Yes.
register to vote
You've got time, you've got
October
until
the-
the 9th.
on the 9th.
So do it, get out, if you're not sure, if you're not absolutely sure about being registered, call the Kenton
Kenton
County
County Clerk, or
Clerk.
the Boone County Clerk, or the Campbell County
and
Clerk,
find out if you're registered or not to vote.
or
because
any
you
other
need to-
county you're seeing this in. And let us know what you think of the show. Our email address is js7500000@gmail.com, or friend us on Facebook, John Stephenson or John A. Stephenson, either one.
John, would you like to take us out with a song? How
Well,
about I'd Rather Have Jesus?
Okay, that'd be a thrill for me to do.
And I wanna thank you all for putting up with me as the interviewer again. How'd I do, John?
You did wonderful. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be his than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by his nail-pierced hand than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. God bless you. Praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition of godly principles and love and prayers for all of us, including our President and Vice President, Donald Trump and Mike Pence.
Amen.
Amen.